This kid can't stay on the field, and it's he played. I guess he played hurt through through the Philadelphia game. It sounded like he got hurt on the second play from offense.
Yeah, but so how does that happen? You've done this before. Is it just adrenaline stuff that I can play through the rest of the game, but then all of a sudden now you're going to miss maybe a week or more?
Normally the injury feels worse the next morning when you wake up. You know that there's something there. You just don't know how bad it is until you wake up the next morning. And I'm sure that he woke up with a stiff neck or had some sort of pain in his, I would assume like in his trap or something like that. And, it's just another season where he's missing more games. The one thing you say about Eli Manning, never missed a game. Always showed up. And I'm not saying that he should be out there playing if he can't play, and certainly don't want to put anybody in harm's way, but it's a reoccurring thing with him and Saquon Barkley, the injuries. And that's a part of whether or not a team can really trust a guy going forward.
Well, this is right. We're still in the evaluation process. I would think that we are. I mean, in the evaluation process of Daniel Jones, and it's not a lock that he comes back next year, but maybe he does. I don't know. Maybe the Giants think differently. We've seen teams around here go in different directions when it comes to changing things up big time or not. With this baseball offseason, like the Yankees are just bringing everybody back and just hoping that it changes.
The Yankees have no choice, and I've been telling you this, that they really have no choice. They have all of these guys that are on these arbitration deals, and they have to make the offers, or they lose the player, and they don't want to lose the player.
But they didn't have to bring back Gary Sanchez.
They don't have a player to replace that player.
Well, they should go out and find one. That's what the offseason is for.
Everybody's trying to find one.
Right. So anyway, but they are the Yankees. But anyway, forget about that for a second. So they seem to be doing the same thing. The Mets made major changes to their roster. What are the Giants going to do at the end of this year? Like, that's the question I still don't know. And they have had a history of overvaluing what they have, thinking that it's better than it is. And when you're still in an evaluation process with the quarterback and now he's going to miss a game or more, and this has been part of his history, that's not a good thing for him and his future with this organization.
And oh, by the way, he's with his third offensive coordinator now.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, just,
which is not fair.
I'm always about stability. I'm always about, make a decision to stay with a guy. He had his best years under Pat Shurmur. They ran him out of town. And now, you have Jason Garrett get run out of town. And now it's Freddie Kitchens' turn. But now Freddie Kitchens doesn't really even get a chance to have his hands on him because he's not going to play. Yeah. And he may be out for the rest of the year, too, by the way.
What?
They have not determined.
Out for the rest of the year?
They have not determined the severity of this. They'll have to go through MRIs and everything else. If it's some sort of, bone or disc or something like that up around the neck area, they'll shut him down for the rest of the year. They're going to have to, his fifth-year option is going to be like $21.5 million. That's a big number for a guy you're not sure about. But I know internally they really like him. They like everything about him. He's below the radar. He's a very coachable kid. He's a very likable young man. The problem is that, the last few, 6 weeks or so, the turnovers are back, the interceptions are back, the fumbles are back. All these things that are affecting him are back again.
Yeah, and there's two things that are happening at the same time. And I've brought this up many times before, and you have not scoffed at me when I have brought this up. So I think that there is potentially a chance that this happens.
I usually don't scoff. I'm not a scoffer.
You've scoffed before.
But not
certain things in football that I've brought up, there's been a scoff or two.
The Kirk Cousins things I'll scoff at.
You'll scoff at that. He did line up under a guard on Sunday.
Yeah, I know that.
Fourth and goal and had to waste a timeout in a one-score game in the fourth quarter.
We used to have a play like that.
Line up under the guard?
Uh-huh. We were supposed to look like we were confused and not know what we were doing.
Well, they were confused because they called timeout.
Yeah, I know. When I was watching that play, I was thinking, man, we had a play just like that.
That's funny. Was it a Rich Kotite play?
No. It was the Sam Weiss play.
Oh, all right. Wow.
He goes, line up under the guard, act like you're not really sure what's going on, look around, and then we're going to snap it right to the guy behind you, and we're going to go run a play.
I wish that was what was going on, but it wasn't.
Okay,
Kirk Cousins was just lining up under the guard.
Again, another thing that we were ahead of the curve with.
Oh, clearly.
So now, if you watch the way that whole play unfolded, you got to come up with a play around that. Somehow you got to come up with a play around. You got to be creative enough to come up with a play where you have your quarterback look like he's completely discombobulated.
Yeah.
And have him line up under the guard, pointing all over the place, everybody pointing all over the place, snap the ball to the running back and run a play.
Bang. There you go. All right. So these are the two things that are happening at the same time.
Okay.
You've got a team in Seattle that is breaking down.
They are.
Day by day.
Day by day.
And it's very good news for the Jets. And lots of folks are saying that the time for Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson is over. The window is closed.
We were talking about this last summer, yeah.
Yeah, right. But now it's played out, though.
Yeah.
This is why I prefaced it by saying I've mentioned this in the past, but now it's playing out.
Yeah, but I didn't scoff at it.
I know. I said you had not scoffed, so it means that maybe you're on the same page with me.
All right.
And then here in New York, we've got a team in the Giants who will once again have a miserable season, and they've got a quarterback they can't count on. When he's healthy, he is underachieving. When he's not healthy, of course, he's missing games, and you can't evaluate him. You've got a Giants team that is so frustrated with the losing, and, oh, by the way, they've got a couple of first-round picks. Seattle doesn't have their top first-round pick because it's with the Jets this year. I could smell something brewing there, if you follow me, where the Giants aren't totally starting over if they can pry Russell Wilson away from the Seahawks when they start their rebuild and put him on the Giants and go for it with Kenny Golladay and everybody else, Kadarius Toney and Saquon Barkley, who never plays either.
Ask DK Metcalf how that's going.
Well, Russell Wilson?
Yeah.
But wouldn't you still take a shot on him? You wouldn't? No.
It's easy to say, yeah, I'll take a shot on him, but I have to know what they want in return, what they think he's worth, and then how much money he's going to want. There's a lot of variables to this. You just can't say, yes, plug him in and let's go.
Get him here makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, you can't just say that.
I can.
I know you can because you're a TV media guy.
Yeah, that's right.
And you could do that. You're a friend of Jordan Davis. Yes. You could say whatever you want to say. I'm just telling you from a practical standpoint, I don't see it. I really don't.
He just turned 33.
I just don't see it.
He's got a lot of football left.
I just don't see it.
You know what I would do if I were Dave Gettleman, whoever's running the Giants?
Get him here makes a ton of sense.
That's what I would. I would call a meeting. I'd get everybody in the room.
Yeah.
And that's all I would say. I would hold up a picture of Russell Wilson and say,
get him here makes a ton of sense.
That's exactly what I would say.
Right.
Just like that. Because everybody's ass is on the line right now.
Everybody's ass is on the line. There's no question about it. And, the guy that is control of all that ass is the quarterback, because he either makes it go or he doesn't make it go. And if he doesn't make it go, then you got to make him go away. But I also know that I would need to know all the facts surrounding getting a guy like Russell Wilson, who, by the way, since I want to say it was last year, all these years kind of run together, there was like the first 5 weeks of the season, Russell Wilson was complaining about not ever getting an MVP vote.
Yes, as it was last year. Yeah.
All right, yeah. Since that time, it has not gone well for him.
He's hurt right now.
He is, but again, he's
got the finger issue.
Didn't go well for him last year, and it's not going well for him at all this year. And I do appreciate him out there playing with the bad finger.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know that it's the right fit here.
Change the scenery. That's what's going to do him well.
I agree. He needs to change the scenery. You know where I'd like to see him go to Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh for him makes a little bit more sense than the Giants.
That makes more sense.
But then again, I don't know if the Pittsburgh Steelers have what it would take if, in fact, you're talking about a trade, which is what I think what we're all talking about.
Yeah. Well, it would have to be.
And the team that wants to trade him values him a hell of a lot more than the team that wants to trade for him. It's a risky proposition, really risky.
Well, don't you feel like the Giants are in that mode right now where they've been so bad for so long and haven't gotten it right that taking a risk like that at this point in their franchise's history is the exact thing that they need to do?
Well, if they're going to change it all depends on who their general manager is going to be. And I think it's if they're going to change the general manager, it's going to be from they'll get a new guy in here, maybe not a new guy in here, maybe somebody that everybody knows that has been attached to the Giants in some way, shape, or form. And then the question is, what is the impact that Ernie Accorsi still has on the franchise in terms of determining who they should hire, who they should bring in, do they use him as a consultant, and all of that stuff. I mean, Quite frankly, we still don't know what all the answers to these questions are. But I'm not about
scoffing. Are you scoffing?
I'm not scoffing. I am just not about a Russell Wilson move here. All right, so that's one thing, and it's a big thing going forward for the New York Giants, and it's always around the quarterback. The other thing is, this game last night between the Knicks and the Nets. It was a great game. It was a fun game. It was a fun game, especially the fourth quarter was fun. And what I loved the most about it is you had Obi Toppin, Quickly, Derrick Rose, and Alec Burks out there all at one time. I mean, I love that.
It sucked that R.J. Barrett had to miss time because of this non-COVID illness thing.
It's too bad. It's too bad. But what we did see in the money point in the fourth quarter before the 4-minute or 5-minute mark, we had our young guys out there. And, Emmanuel Quickly at times has the ball in his hands, and it's like his hair's on fire.
Yeah, Reggie Miller loves him, too, by the way. All he did was talk about it the whole night.
I love him, too. But he'll learn. He's getting better. He's getting better. Obi Toppin's great. Mitchell Robinson's got stone hands. That's obvious. I mean, it's just stone hands. I mean, he reminds me of Kramer a little bit, doesn't he? Of Seinfeld. Al, you know what I'm talking about?
Sure. I'm aware of Kramer, yeah.
Yeah, it kind of looks a little like Kramer. It kind of reminds me of Kramer in the middle of the Knicks defense there at times. But how about this? With about 4 minutes to go, you had Julius Randle miss a three-pointer. Then with 1:47 to go, Randle misses a two-pointer, 9-footer. Then at 1:36, Randle takes a technical foul because he's pissed off and he loses his mind. And it's right in the money part of the game that your leader is snapping at the referees for whatever reason. And I know that he's pissed off that he's not getting foul calls when he's trying to force the basketball to the hoop, which is just like, I'm tired of seeing
and
it.
He's got a history of snapping like this on officials.
That's what I'm saying. It's ridiculous. And then at 1:17, he has a turnover. And then he finally gets a dunk around the 52nd mark, and then after that, it's gone. He's out of the.
And he had played really well up until that point, and then just blew up at the worst time.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like these games come down to like the last 5 minutes.
Well, I mean, they also come down to Kevin Durant, who had a bad game for his standards throughout most of the game. In the fourth quarter, is taking over. And Julius Randle, who had a good game up until the fourth quarter, in crunch time, it did more than disappear. He basically blew the entire game up for the Knicks.
All right, so what I'm saying is you have a Hall of Famer, a 7-footer, who can shoot and get any shot he wants. And then, of course, everybody's bitching and complaining about the fouls, discrepancy, and all that other stuff. I know it's frustrating for Coach Tibbs, and I'm sure it's frustrating for Julius Randle. But the last foul on Mitchell Robinson was a foul.
No, I agree. It wasn't. Now, he said he was pushed, and he said that it wouldn't have happened that way if he wasn't pushed in the back. But to me, the second I saw that, I said, "Oh God, you fouled him!" I couldn't believe it. That's what I thought. I didn't say that's a terrible call. I said you actually fouled the guy with 2 seconds to go.
And can I ask you another question?
What?
Does James Harden sweat?
It's a great question. I never see him sweat.
That guy does not have one beat of sweat on him.
I mean, last night he did not.
I don't know how hard he's working.
Yeah.
I think he's just kind of like floating around out there.
Yeah, I know.
And
effortless.
It just comes so easy to him.
Effortless.
I don't think he was sweating at all.
That was just an annoying loss. I would have rather them, when they came out in the third quarter and the Nets started to pull away there before the Knicks came back, I would have rather seen the Nets just waylay them.
Why?
And blow them out.
Than
for them to come back and then to lose that way. That sucks.
How could you say that? I wanted to see a team.
So annoying.
I thought our team fought back valiantly, and I'm not happy that they lost. And I'm really not happy about what I just told you about Julius Randle in crunch time, just basically disappearing and costing his team a game. And Mitchell Robinson having stone hands. Yeah. Other than that, everything else was great. Alec Burks was great. I loved it. I love the fact that Quickly and Rose were out there together.
You're going
and
moral victory.
I'm not going moral victory. I'm going reality because they have 2 Hall of Famers, 2 of the greatest basketball players of their generation. We don't have that.
No, of course not.
I mean, and the fact that we were right there with them, but then again,
what is this season then?
But you look at these last 5 plays by Julius Randle. I know he got a dunk in there on a steal, but I mean, it's just. That's like the difference between the Hall of Famers that want to win the game and don't get tied up in the referees and the nonsense. He's done this before. Yeah, and every time he does this,
he did it at the Barclays last time.
Yeah, and every time he does this, what does he say? What does he say? I got to control my emotions.
Well, last night he was still ripping the officials in the postgame. He's going to get fined.
But he says it every time.
Yeah.
I have to control my emotions. And he very rarely ever controls his emotions.
I swear he's going to punch out an official. Like, I really think that at some point he may. Like, he gets that angry.
And I understand
he chases these guys. He has to be restrained.
And I know that he goes down low, he goes into the paint, and then he gets an explanation, according to him, from the referees. It's like, wait a minute, Julius, you're too strong. You're stronger than the guy you're going against. So we're not going to call a foul in that situation. Essentially, that's what he said that they told him.
Yeah. And
that if that in fact is true and accurate, then he does have a beef. But you cannot snap with less than 3 minutes to go in the game. You just can't.
A minute and a half, and then there's Kevin Durant shooting the tech to basically make it a 3-point game at that point, which ended up hurting you down the stretch.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.